Here we are, just hours removed from WWE Crown Jewel Perth. It is John Pollock alongside Ting, special free edition of the show tonight as we are coming at you with our dual green hoodies for the evening. Hello, Wei. How are you?
Totally planned.
You know, we try to coordinate when possible, and here we are on a Saturday evening. Yeah, we both thought the pay-per-view was at 8 p.m. tonight, and we just finished, and we're gonna get into Crown Jewel Perth.
Yeah, unfortunately, I was not able to watch this one until about 8 p.m. in the evening, so a whole 12 hours behind. What did you happen to catch it?
Well, it's Canadian Thanksgiving weekend, so I had all of my family festivities throughout the afternoon and evening, so the only time I was able to watch this would have been the morning. So I watched it, would not have been able to record anyway this morning, so this actually did work out well. So yes, I did not watch it live. I was not starting a WWE pay-per-view live in the best of times, much less at 8 in the morning. So I started this like an hour in. I fit in a workout in between matches. That's well, you need to have time to kill during some of these breaks. This is still a 5-match show that went like 3 hours and 40 minutes. So
the WWE PLE workout plan.
That's it. Yeah.
You can patent that.
Yeah, maybe I will that'll be our double content. Just get a camera set up here on me as I watch wrestling.
Yeah, what do you care to share? Like, what do you do? How much time do you really need to fit a workout in?
Like this specific one, I mean, yeah. I did like 35 minutes, but that was
in between.
Like I hit pause. I wasn't just like that wasn't in between match time, but
gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. Anyway,
wow.
Nobody cares about any of this, so we are gonna usher forward. We'll also at the end we'll do a couple of news items. We're going to talk about the WWE cuts from Friday, some notes coming out of Collision tonight, including a bunch of stuff added for the 3-hour Dynamite next Wednesday and WrestleDream editions, as well as a retirement in MMA and teeing up Bound for Glory on Sunday night. Do you think you're going to swoop in and check out any Bound for Glory?
I think I might. Yeah, not live, but I mean, yes, I'll probably try to catch some of it.
Did you happen to see the final 2 minutes of Impact presented by Conan?
Oh. Do tell. What happened?
So, thanks for listening to me and Neil on Friday as I did recap this.
I was very busy on Friday. That's why I couldn't do the show, but okay.
We're even. So the end of the show sees Mike Santana go into the old LAX clubhouse, and you've got all the photos of past members and various just various people on the wall, including Eddie Kingston and Homicide and such. But a handwritten letter has been left for Mike Santana, written by Conan, voiced by Conan, and he gives this big speech to Santana that this is your time. You are representing Puerto Rico, especially during a time when Bad Bunny is under attack. And it was so great. Like, it's on TNA's they have the video on their Twitter. If you want to scroll down and find it, it's like 2 minutes or so. If you watch this, you will be interested in seeing this match. It was great. It was really, really solid stuff.
It sounds like they've been doing great work with Santana.
It's like an audio essay from Conan to end this show. It was quite something. Amazing. So anyway, that was Impact. But now we are going to move on over to Crown Jewel, as this was the second of 3 events in Perth at the RAC Arena. And if you tuned in for the 2-hour pre-show, well, the most noteworthy thing came in the final minutes as Sophie Foster entered the ring and sang the American national anthem. And the crowd in Perth did not care for such an anthem and heavily booed this, making this the second international crowd this year to boo the American anthem. Unfortunately, Pat McAfee was not here to react to this in real time like he was in Toronto earlier this year. But boy, was this for some maybe some cold water over top how America is being perceived in international locations.
Yeah. honestly not surprising, and I wouldn't necessarily say unfortunate either. I feel like there are a lot of Americans that probably um are sympathetic to this sort of reception. Probably completely understanding of this sort of reception internationally.
Yeah, it's something we haven't talked about as much beyond like the Hangman post last week, but you are getting these ice ads on both sets of programs, like WWE and AEW. And granted, I mean, these are sort of out of the control of your given companies. But it's definitely upsetting an audience that is, they are plastering these ads. And again, we're not seeing these in Canada, but it's certainly come to the attention of a lot of fans that are watching these, that it's a big turnoff. And obviously, like, they are really hitting hard. And this, Hangman putting this out there, I mean, it is quite something here that you are actively, encouraging your audience to complain to HBO, to like Warner Brothers Discovery about these ads, which did continue this past week. And, it's going for WWE programming as well.
Yeah. I'm sure it's one of those things that a lot of talents might be afraid to speak out on because for fear of hurting their company. I think Brody King has said about as much about maybe wearing the fuck eye shirt again.
He was asked about that at the All Out press conference afterwards, and just stating that he appreciates being at a company that lets him voice that, but he also does not want to harm the company without stating, like, it's not. I didn't take it as though he was told not to, but understanding that you are courting a lightning rod with that, and I'm sure a lot of these networks are fearful of running on the other side. Like, we're talking about Warner Brothers Discovery, for instance, who very well may be in the midst of like being sold in the coming years, and where it's none of these gigantic companies want to find themselves on the other end of this administration, and it becomes for a lot of people, very powerful people, that are just not opting to speak in opposition, even if that is maybe how some feel. And there's probably others that don't even care about this.
So booing the anthem today, do you believe that this was related to this show being certainly obviously an international show, but one in front of a wrestling audience? Do you believe at an international UFC show this would have happened?
It's a good question. I mean, the UFC was just in this very same arena not too many weeks ago. And there was nothing like this, but I don't think there was an anthem either. So there isn't that. I mean, I didn't read this.
This will probably give them pause about like having the anthem sung.
It might, like, this is going to be something that it was still up on. It's not like they edited this off the kickoff show or anything. And I'd be curious, like, if this is sort of a bit of like a minor news story that comes out of this, because the deal in Toronto, like, that was a pretty big story coming out of it, and was only exacerbated by Pat McAfee's reaction to it and such. And then speaking about it on his show. I just took this to be like, it's a wake up call of just where, like, there is a bad reputation among the US, among a lot of people internationally, that from afar are just following like the daily like stories that are coming out of this administration, and that people have this is just a wake up call of how some feel. I don't mean it that it colors everybody, but it certainly was a very vocal reaction today.
I think it's fascinating that like it's off, like wrestling is some of the most high profile settings where this takes place, right? And I think it's because wrestling fans are instructed to boo the things that they dislike, often at their own decision, not necessarily what they're being instructed to. And so you get these very unique circumstances where you get these large, massive crowds of people that are able to just voice their opinion loudly on a live broadcast.
The last note on this, and then I promise we will move on. I know everyone loves when we dive into these topics, but one of the big things over the last week or so was the announcement that Bad Bunny is going to be doing the Super Bowl halftime show, and the fervor that this became of Bad Bunny. First of all, of a not insignificant percentage of people that were waking up to realize Puerto Rico is part of the United States. But second, they have now like they have made like Bad Bunny this icon for everything that this administration is against. They want to put up now their own halftime show to go against Bad Bunny. And for WWE, I mean, in a world you would think like this has been probably like the biggest celebrity they have been attached to in years. And would you expect even a whisper of solidarity being behind this guy, that hey, this is our guy and we approve of Bad Bunny being part of the Super Bowl halftime show? I mean, that to me would take a level of like courage to like stand by a guy that you have been so entrenched with and has been great, like for both of your sides, it has been great with, and not a whisper of solidarity with this guy who has just been under attack over this last week by a portion of the country that just thinks that this is somebody like, how dare you not run shows in the U.S. for fear of ICE officials coming outside your concerts.
Yeah, fascinating, isn't it? They're kind of caught in between. Like I guess traditionally, what they would tell you is that they would stray away from any sort of political lightning rods on their screen, not in their personal time.
Certainly. I'm not asking for something on screen, but wouldn't it be like, it's not going to happen? But to me, like, wouldn't it be like an ounce of courage for, hey, this is our guy and we stand with Bad Bunny? Nobody, none of that.
What's in it for them to exercise courage in this way? I wouldn't be surprised if they did, and I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't. I don't.
Well, they haven't.
Think.
They haven't. They haven't said a word.
The Super Bowl hasn't happened yet. I guess they would be congratulating him on actually getting it, which yes, they haven't done yet. Yeah, it would be interesting when Super Bowl time comes if there's any mention of it. And I wonder if it affects his relationship with this company going forward. Like, would they be more reluctant to use somebody that might divide the audience? And if they do use him next time, well, is anything going to be different about the conversation surrounding?
I don't think a Bad Bunny is dividing this WWE audience. It's the other side of TKO it might be dividing.
Well, sure, whatever. Like any sort of like controversy that might be remotely attached to his usage, is that going to deter them from doing it? I'm curious to see. Well,
on that note, let us move on to Crown Jewel itself. That was the highlight of the kickoff show. It opened up with a video narrated by Rhea Ripley. Can you hear it?
It opened up with the royal transfer, John. Okay, where we saw the transfer of these very obscenely large championships all the way from their WWE experience thing in Riyadh.
Yes, this aired on SmackDown. This very elaborate video, a very expensive looking one, unless this was AI at work. But yes, helicopters, multi-camera shoots, all to bring these belts from Riyadh over to Perth. 7,000 miles.
Mm. Yeah, will we get this once a year, or do you think this show goes back to Riyadh in subsequent years?
Well, I guess next year it'll be interesting how close they run another Saudi Arabia show, because it'll be so close to WrestleMania next year as we're looking at this. But I would think that this is probably going to be an event that is more so earmarked for Saudi Arabia, but not exclusively. And with WrestleMania there, you may want to spread out your events in Saudi as well. So Rhea Ripley, it just kind of focuses on how all of these international crowds, these sounds don't need any translation. We all speak the same language in WWE, and that language is loud, obnoxious, and singing.
I guess obnoxious depending on whether or not you're in the crowd, maybe.
I did enjoy that instead of fight forever, we got fight forever.
Did you detect it?
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
No crowd announcement, or at least WrestleTix did not have a number for this. Michael Cole gave out 13,683, and he's paired with Wade Barrett. And this arena, if there were, let's just say 13,000 people in this arena, I think 11,000 of them bought John Cena shirts. I have never, this felt like I was watching like some giant like NCAA college basketball game where the entire home arena is just adorned in the school's colors. This was insane, dude. Like we're talking what, 35, 40 bucks a head per shirt. And this place, there was so much yellow. I can never recall a shirt like just sweeping an entire arena like this.
Very impressive. Impressive that they, have even printed as so many shirts to fulfill this sort of demand. So I can understand it completely. I mean, it's Cena's last appearance here. It's probably, he is definitely the biggest draw, I think, for most people to this particular show. It's the only chance you can get one of these shirts live. And if you're somebody who will rarely ever see a WWE event, much less a John Cena match in your lifetime, I completely understand it. Impressive that they all managed to get one before showtime, and people weren't stuck in lines.
Well, I mean, they would have had, I guess, their opportunity the night before. But man, this was it was not like this on SmackDown, but this was just this visual was just incredible throughout the night. All these Cena shirts. So to start the show off, it's the Australian street fight. Bronson Reed in the match that got him hired by WWE, taking on Roman Reigns. And so it's a street fight. In pro wrestling, what does that mean? That means weapons to match the geographical location. And that meant a cricket bat, a rugby ball. That was about as Australian as we got.
I was expecting
some choices.
Yeah, I was expecting some barbecues.
Kangaroo.
Yeah, all the things we saw in that. What was the Australian dude from that international 80s video? Where we got
Outback Jack?
Thank you, yes. Where he took a cow to a bar to drink.
Oh, man, that would have been great. That should have been the Australian street fight where he walks in and everyone recognizes Bronson Reed, and then they get an animal drunk. Rewind away archives, folks. Reigns uses the kendo stick. He's doing like magic tricks with this kendo stick, just like twirling it around. He's having the time of his life. He seemed like to be really having fun here. And for all the thought about what the crowd reaction was going to be like, they were just totally behind Roman Reigns here. They were chanting behind Roman. Roman said, "If you want a table, acknowledge me." They were happy to acknowledge. And then Reed eats a Superman punch, but rolls out, avoiding the spear. And as Reigns runs around the ring, Braun Breaker hops the barricade. He had not come out with Heyman, spearing Roman. And then they deliver a shield powerbomb to Roman through the desk. And then the Usos music plays. Now, earlier this week, Roman had said he doesn't need any help. But Jimmy and Jay, they couldn't allow this numbers game to continue. So they lay out Breaker with a 1D. And Breaker literally just pops right up, and they acknowledge this, the fact that he just took the 1D and he was right up and no-sold it. Breaker then spears Jimmy through the barricade on the floor. He's dead, and Reigns ends up delivering a Superman punch to Reed and stops a tsunami onto Jay. There's a jagged edge attempt when Jay comes back and he runs at Reed, misses Reed, who sidesteps, and Jay accidentally spears Roman through a table in the corner. Breaker takes out Jay, and Bronson climbs to the top, tsunami on Roman Reigns, and pins him in 21 minutes and 5 seconds, becoming the second person to beat Roman Reigns since 2019, joining Cody Rhodes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What a lineage.
Cody
Bronson
Rhodes.
Reed, Cody Rhodes, Baron Corbin, the last three. And
right.
I thought the match, it was fine. It was like a good street fight, fine opener, was not match of the show, but I really, really liked the booking and putting Bronson over. Like, this was the kind of win that they can really hammer home, as this is the guy that is in rarefied air, pinning Roman Reigns. And they basically said this in the backstage segment later, like, this now establishes you. You're not just the hanger-on with Braun Breaker. You are now his equal in this group. So it was great booking of Bronson Reed.
I thought so too. Yeah, I thought the finish was really strong with the friendly fire spot. I thought that was very well done. I honestly, prior to this, to me, it wasn't necessarily a match to get that excited about, because I ultimately felt like this was a pretty typical WWE street fight, featuring kendo stick shots. I guess kendo popular in Australia to be included here, hitting each other with like cartoonish objects like your cricket bats and just things like that. I mean, not to say cricket bats are probably feel cartoonish, but just why gimmick it up so much and make this feel, I don't know, more goofy than it really needs to be. So I thought that really took the edge off of some of it, and the action wasn't really all that great anyway. Not to maybe a modern standard of, I think, what you might expect about even a WWE street fight, which I think features typically more creativity. Like with the Aleister Black and Damian Priest match last night. This instead emphasized that Roman
You wanted
Reigns.
a fireball, didn't you?
I certainly did, yes. This more so emphasized the Roman Reigns star power and aura farming style that he, has been known to do. And the crowd was eating it up. I mean, I can't really complain that much because everything that they were doing, this crowd completely ate up. So it wasn't necessarily a match I would even say I enjoyed all that much, but I thought the closing angle was very strong. And I love the post match as well.
Yeah, we have the Usos and Roman, and they're all seated. And Roman, like, you're thinking he's just going to lose his mind, but he is just trying to keep it together, but he's pissed. And we go in. Unfortunately, though, like, this crowd would have no idea what was being said here, but the cameras picked all of this up. He says how the whole world thinks I can't do shit on my own. This only works one way. I love you, but I don't want to see you till Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
Man, harsh.
Till Christmas.
And Jimmy just explains, we were just trying to help. And Jay's like, fuck this. And he walks off too. He's sick of Roman too. And once again, Jimmy is left in the middle and their plan got blown up. And I think that, call me crazy way, but I think Christmas is going to come early via War Games when family is going to need each other. There's strength in numbers.
I mean, he didn't say Thanksgiving. He said Christmas, okay? Not even Halloween. Their kids might want to go trick-or-treating together. No, not that Halloween.
We're skipping Halloween. We're skipping
Thanksgiving
and Christmas. I don't want to see you guys for 2.5 months.
Goodness. Wow. Well, we might not see Roman Reigns for that long. Anyway,
I mean, in fairness, that's usually his recovery period after these big matches and flights.
I really liked it. Again, like the magic that exists within the bloodline is within these three, and it's within Sami Zayn. But anytime that they have issues with each other and they do it in this sort of like live theater way that I think was really born out. Well, I mean, it was certainly born out of the what do they call that, Thunderdome era. I really like it, and I tend to think it's come across pretty well. So I found this interesting that this is not necessarily going the way that I think they were presenting it before, where with Jay, essentially being a mini Roman Reigns, they were trying to show some sort of tension between Jay calling Roman selfish or something to the extent of he's saying he's gonna always do him, which is sort of a different direction than what we might have been led to believe initially.
So we kicked off the show with the Australian street fight, and because of our good friends, you too can customize that street fight to whatever geographic location you desire.
Support for this podcast comes from NordVPN. It's gotten really expensive to be a wrestling fan. So it's no surprise that VPNs have basically become an essential tool if you're watching wrestling week in and week out. I'm lucky. I live in a territory where I get full access to WWE programming and premium live events on one streaming service for one fee. But let's say I travel to the US for a month. You really think I'm going to juggle a bunch of different services just to keep up with Raw, SmackDown, NXT, and PLEs? Instead, I just boot up my NordVPN, set my location back to Canada, turn on my streaming service, and I'm good to go. I even have the NordVPN app installed right on my Apple TV. A couple clicks with my remote, no wires, no technical knowledge. Done. So go to nordvpn.com/postwrestling, sign up for a 2-year plan, and you get 4 extra months for free with the 30-day money-back guarantee. nordvpn.com/postwrestling. Stay safe, save money, and take control of your internet with Nord.
Ladies and gentlemen,
nice.
Wai Ting,
very nicely done.
Puts You just put Stephanie McMahon out of business right there. That was your best one yet. That was great. You convinced me. I'm signing up right now at nordvpn.com/postwrestling.
It is honestly incredibly useful for a wrestling fan. I don't know what to say.
Stephanie Vaquer, Tiffany Stratton with the 5,000 carat championship diamond encrusted belt at stake. And so we begin things off, and there is a cartwheel into an Alabama slam by Tiffany Stratton. Michael Cole, he has now started to refer to Stephanie's setup for the double knees with the angel's wings, which would be a big popular maneuver on this show. Vaquer sets up for that, hits a dragon screw onto Stratton, and then after a swanton by Tiffany, Vaquer gets the knees up, hits the devil's kiss, crowd goes wild, and then as Stratton makes her comeback, she misses with the PME, and once again, Stephanie Vaquer hits her modified, not quite a spiral tap, according to AJ Styles, maneuver for the win, which is yet to be named in WWE land. 10 minutes and 6 seconds. Paul Levesque came in presenting the belt, and she was interviewed by Jackie Redmond, thanking Australia for the love and support they have given her, and now she believes in herself.
Mm-hmm. It's a corkscrew moonsault. I mean, it's not necessarily like something she created herself. I mean, she... And it's not a spiral tap. I don't really know who started calling it that, but I mean, I think we all just kind of went along with it anyway. But I guess I'm glad AJ Styles decided to correct everybody. An excellent match, really. I thought this was a big test for both women. It's a match that is comparatively low on star power in the context of this particular show. Stratton is still in her first year as champion, and Vaquer is like in her first month as champion. So they also didn't have much of a story heading into this. So I really felt like the success of this one was really going to hinge on just the in-ring quality. And I thought these two killed it. I thought this match was very captivating from beginning to end. Good technical stuff early, spectacular acrobatics. And I thought Vaquer's aggression was really strong here. To me, it's sort of the trait that made her noticeable in that Mercedes Moné match for Forbidden Door. I thought like she might be new to the role, but she looked every bit a champion and somebody who should be deserving of a top spot when you just look at her in ring. And I also felt like Tiffany Stratton, to me, like I'd love to compare her performances now than maybe even January, because I feel like she's improved every single time she's been in the spotlight. And here I felt like her pacing was a lot more sort of like sophisticated, in that like she seems to be getting better at like breathing between her movements, so that it's the whole thing that just doesn't feel like this sort of speed run gymnastics routine anymore. And I think all in all, like by the time we're here, in October, she's like built a pretty impressive run of matches as part of this reign. So I thought this match was strong.
I just felt this match, to me, it was just like, it almost to me, like I felt like by the end of it, like I missed a chapter somewhere in the midst of this match. It just felt like in 10 minutes, I could have used a bit more of this. It just kind of felt like it was one of their sequences, then it was the other's turn, and then we flipped it, and then we just went to this finish. So I wasn't as high on it as you were. I didn't find anything like negative about the match. It just felt to me, it's like 10 minutes, it just felt like it was just almost finish came very, very quick for me, where I just felt like this had not, for me, reached that next gear that I was hoping to see from these two. But you obviously enjoyed this more than I did. Levesque, then, yeah.
The booking I found interesting here. Stratton has been champ longer, but Vaquer, I think, could use the credibility boost, and this certainly puts her center stage in a big way. And I would also say, like, in ring, I think Vaquer almost like justifies it more to me. Like she looks like she's the veteran of the two, incredibly smooth in there. But I can also see these two trading wins, throughout their career. Yeah.
Breaker and Reed are in the back, and they get congratulated by Heyman, who says now when they talk about the vision for the future, they will talk about both of you instead of just Breaker, and warns them tonight, no matter what, no interference in Seth's match. We will see who is the rightful winner. And Breaker asks, well, what if Cody wins? And Heyman says, you both know the answer to that.
Which I guess so how did you interpret that last line?
Well, the way you were to read it from SmackDown was that if Rollins lost this match, that Heyman would lose confidence in Seth Rollins as the leader. That's the way they were positioning it on SmackDown. So that is why he needed to win this match for many reasons.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, it makes you ask the question, who's really pulling the strings here? Is it Rollins or is it Heyman basically in charge of everything, including these two, Braun and Bronson? So who is really the leader that these two are following? Is it Rollins or is it Heyman?
On to Cena and Styles. There was a video narrated by Joe Tessitore, and out comes AJ Styles. And it's not just AJ Styles. It's AJ Styles in his Aries-conditioned shorts that he has not worn in over 15 years. Big throwback look for Allen. And
yeah, I believe I just saw a tweet from Fightful about this saying that this was the exact outfit he had on for a PWI magazine cover that featured AJ and Cena back in 2005 talking about dream matches. I don't know if that was the thought or just he picked up a random, the first of the pile of his TNA outfit box. But
did AJ give this magazine cover to John, and John just took a look and said, "Yeah, I'm not dressing up."
Well, he was wearing jorts. I mean, it was essentially the same outfit.
Well, out comes Cena.
He has not changed the way he looked in many years.
Well, he wasn't wearing these particular shorts, but nonetheless, here he is. He comes out. Alicia Taylor does the introduction for Cena, but then Cena has also given Alicia Taylor an intro for AJ Styles. The definition of total nonstop action. The ace and undisputed boss of the Bullet Club, and my honor as an opponent to see if he can beat up John Cena one final time. The face that runs the place, AJ Styles, who seemed legitimately caught off guard by this introduction. And I thought this is probably, I mean, if you're looking at the potential final matches, like I don't imagine John's going to get a chance to do this kind of thing with Gunther, for instance. So it was a nice little shift of like they really presented this as like a dream match that was concocted over 3 weeks that did not need a whole lot of build to it. They did a fairly good job where you didn't have any appearances by Cena to build this up, and yet going into it, I mean, to this crowd in Australia, this was the main event, and they were all going to vote for this match as the main event by buying these $40 t-shirts.
That's certainly true. I think even if it was like somebody of a lesser sort of like pedigree, they probably would have still bought these shirts.
Like how many John Cena t-shirt sales on this night would have topped some like historical gates, like pre 2000s, like in history? Like how much they made off of these Cena shirts? I would love to know what the haul was overall in this Australia trip.
The build for this one has been really interesting, in that like we're out of Cena dates, and therefore he had to build to this match without any sort of story. Like he did something similar, like even in the lead up to like Chamber or something like that. But like I mean, those are match types that kind of sell themselves, and just the addition of Cena being in them already makes a lot of sense. This was supposed to be a feud with somebody, and they had no TV time. And all they had was really kind of their name value, and I felt and just I guess nostalgia, which was well utilized in this match. But I thought they did a very good job of it. Certainly in front of this crowd, this felt dream match worthy. And sometimes all you really need is just like two really strong wrestlers towards the end of their career. But this almost felt like it would have been the way that like an independent wrestling show would have built to, a match from somebody coming from Japan, for instance, for a one night only thing.
Are you saying this was WWE's Joe Kobashi?
Yeah, in a way. Mm-hmm. Yeah. How much TV did Kenta Kobashi do on ROH prior to that match?
I think he did his build on Facebook. The MySpace build of Kobashi.
Kenta Kobashi's Instagram. Yeah.
Joe pulled out his trunks from an old PWI dream match. Mm-hmm. So the match begins. The crowd is chanting "Holy shit" before they even lock up. I mean, it's a real testament to how they built this one up. That this crowd, they were just in their glory as this match began. And I know that there were a lot of callbacks, there were a lot of tribute spots, but there was nothing greater in John Cena's final run of matches than seeing John on his back screaming out the next sequence over to AJ Styles across the ring. To me, that is the John Cena tribute spot of this match.
Oh, clearly very intentional. Yeah, yeah. It would not be a Cena. For the last time ever, I'm going to be shouting way across from, from the other side of the ring so that everybody at home can hear what the next spot is going to be.
Yes. You can't see him, but you can hear him. And so, I mean, we just go through all of it. Like, the match pretty much just became Cena with all his like tribute spots, and then AJ meshing in unique spots of his and his prior opponents as well. And it kind of begins with a skull-crushing finale by Cena. There's an AA early on, the first of many. And then Cena, after the skull-crushing finale, he applies the walls of Jericho, and this crowd goes wild. They're like, "Oh my God, he's not under contract here. What does this mean? What does this mean?" And then it's turned into a calf crusher, and then AJ manages the first Styles Clash. And after hitting the Styles Clash, goes for the phenomenal forearm. John catches the phenomenal forearm, and you think he's like setting up for like a rock bottom, but no, he pulls him into the center, leans him over, kisses on the forehead, and hits the Sister Abigail, which I'm going to say was probably the biggest pop of any of these spots that they did. To me, it was like the big one of the match. And then it was a very cool scene because after he hit this, all the crowd like put up their phones and the whole place. This was yellow shirts and cell phone lights on.
It was incredible. Like, I would even say emotional, to just suddenly get this sort of reaction from this crowd who were just, I think, among the smartest and most sort of well-versed in WWE lore. Certainly, of some of its biggest stars referenced in this match. There were also, what did we have here? We had an accolade, which this crowd chanted Rusev Day for. We had a Kikina clutch, which this crowd chanted Joe, Joe, Joe for. That surprised me. I mean,
but by really... Styles.
By Styles, yeah.
Yes, yeah. Styles did Joe's Coquina Clutch. He did the Angel's Wings for Daniels, and he did Kazarian's Fade to Black as kind of the three big like.
What's that move? What's the
an Omori driver?
That is. Oh, okay, the Deadeye.
Yeah, the Deadeye.
I see. Yeah, that one I did not pick up.
One that is maybe less synonymous, but those were the key ones for him. Then Cena went back, did an RKO, hit it for a 2 count, and then teases a punt. No greater love letter to pro wrestling than I'm going to give you some CTE here to leave Australia with. I mean, I'm sure AJ was just brought a tear to his eye of how beautiful this was. So Styles gets away from the punt, and he hits an AA for a 2 count. Wade compares this to making a character in a video game and doing all of your opponent's moves. I was like, yeah, that's exactly what this is. And then Wade says, no one saw this match going the way it has. It's like, I think all of us probably thought that this was going to be the John Cena textbook for this time out. But then the crowd starts chanting 619. And I am going to venture to guess that John Cena decided, you know what? We've got to listen to them, but God knows I am not hitting a fucking 619. So he teased it, which was enough before AJ cut him off, and the crowd was sad because we almost got John Cena probably ripping like the hip out of his socket had he tried this.
Because the timing of this, I mean, was obviously so perfect in response to the crowd. I mean, I had to assume that this was an audible. And if they somehow planned this whole sequence of Cena doing the drop toe hold, going for the 619, and AJ cutting him off, I mean, I think that's genius, and really kind of shows, if again this is improvised, how great these two are to be able to just fit that in there at the response of this crowd.
So Styles hits a sweet chin music and then a phenomenal forearm for a 2 count. The crowd's chanting yes. There's another AA by Cena for a near fall, and then finally Cena rolls through on a high cross, hits the Undertaker's tombstone, and one final AA to win. At 27 minutes and 12 seconds, the two men hug. They pose for the crowd. Michael Cole gives this a standing ovation, calling this one of the greatest matches that he has ever seen before. And I feel they are going to really push this one as a classic by the end of it. I will just get mine out of the way here. I thought it was a great match. It was probably the match of the show, and I think most people are going to agree with that. There was I was watching this though in much the same way that this was less to me of your typical wrestling match, and this was like at a certain point, this was like watching the slam dunk competition where it was just going to be all these moves, and that was going to be it. And the crowd loved it. I don't even like disagree with it. It's not my favorite like formula. It works really well, and I know I'm going to be probably one of the few that is going to have that thought at the end of this. But what did you think overall about the match?
So I think that's an interesting comparison point, like this being more of a slam dunk contest variety, which I guess just because like it's
just like let's do cool moves back and forth, and they're all gonna work, and they're all gonna get over.
So would you classify this as a spot fest?
I mean, in some way, like that sounds like a denigrating term, but it's like you do have characters that have built this up where I don't think you could just put any two guys.
Is it in the same category as a spot fest where, an indie wrestler might just pull in like two high flyers, pull in like impressive move after impressive move?
I'll say where the similarity is that they were going to do like there was going to be no in between stuff. Like there's no like quote unquote like wrestling here in terms of it was just going to be I'm going to do a big move. And then 30 seconds later, you're going to do a big move, and they're all going to get that reaction. So that's what it was. It was like watching like a tennis match. Like it's just you go, I go, you go, I go, and the crowd knows all these moves. They had a ton of fun watching it, but it's not going to be my style of match that I'm gonna like. This is not going to be on my match of the year list, and it might be for others. Like if you love this, great. I would say this was probably the match of the show. But it's definitely not like in my like kind of like I'm not going to love this to the degree others.
You're looking for more of like a cohesive like beginning, middle, and end story, something that feels more like realistic. Is that it?
It's not even realistic, but more so of like a match layout that I think has a bit more like twists and turns to it that I think is going to capture me from more of a dramatic standpoint. And this was more so just like we're just going to hit all the hits, and like there was no way this was going to fail. It was just a very easy formula to execute, and that's I think what you could argue is what people want here in these final Cena matches. And frankly, you're not going to get this type of match with Gunther either. So this is kind of like the last of one of these.
I guess I would take issue with maybe this suggestion that this was never going to fail. Because I think it's one thing to script a match like this. I think it's another to execute it, especially at their ages. I know a lot of these are just like the skull-crushing finale isn't necessarily like the most technical move.
Sorry, you're talking about like just actually physically executing matches.
Executing it.
Okay, yeah,
yes.
I agree with you there. I'm just saying like the idea here of this, like you lay this match out, like you're. I mean, in terms of like the more ambitious stuff, like that was really on AJ's plate. I would not have had too many concerns about any of that. It's like, did Cena have to do anything that
I would have concerns about that? I mean, this is a man entering his retirement year, right? And I, like he pulled things out in this match that I don't know if he's done so often. Like how often has he done that springboard 450? At this stage of his career. I mean, maybe he has.
We should mention he did not hit that springboard 450 clean either. He came down on his ribs, and they even noted it. Like he came down hard on Cena on that springboard 450.
Right. But for Cena, again, like it's one thing to be able to script a match like this, and I think it's another to be able to execute it. And I thought this match actually showcased a lot of just what these guys were still able to do now that they probably were able to do a lot easier when they're younger. Like even spots like towards the end here, Cena catching AJ on that high cross, rolling into a fireman's carry, or in this case, I believe it was a tombstone. Like these are very impressive feats. Like what is it? You had AJ be able to like pull a rack bomb off on John Cena. He's able to do the Ushi-Goroshi on John Cena, where like for a guy like that size, like Cena size, I mean, I thought was incredibly impressive. So again, like, yes, you can script a match like this, and spamming finishers, you can maybe call it maybe an easy way to get a reaction. But I still think it takes a whole lot of effort, especially in your 40s, like these guys are, to be able to pull it off, I think, as well as they did. I also feel like the reason why I was maybe asking if you felt like this was a spot fest is because, I mean, it sounds to me like you can maybe look at this match the way you might look at like a Ricochet Osprey from the Best of the Super Juniors, you know, where it's like, it's the moves, cool moves. Like, you know, like in that case, it's acrobatics. In this case, it's nostalgia. And these are all weapons that you can use to elicit a reaction from a crowd. And the way that I would, you know, perhaps look towards a Bucks match or like a Ricochet Osprey match, how I would grade that sort of match is ultimately based on the question of how much I enjoyed it, how excited I was in watching it. And the answer to those matches is very, and therefore I really like that match. The answer to this match, very. I was very excited and I was very captivated from beginning, middle to the end. And for that reason, I do classify this as one of my matches of the year at present time. And I also feel like it's also not necessarily easy because these two have earned those nostalgia pops. They've earned it through their long career. And I feel like you can't just get like two indie guys to do a match like this. It's not as meaningful. It's much more meaningful when it's John Cena doing, you know, the moves of his prior opponents, because these are all like things he's earned in his career, right? So I mean, I was impressed technically with the way that this whole thing, you know, came across. I also just feel like it was tremendously entertaining. One of the most entertaining matches I've seen this year.
Again, I'm definitely not down on like the execution of it. I'm just saying, like, if you were laying this out, like this was a way, like, and listen, you could look at this and say this has already been introduced by Cena, like doing these spots. It would almost be counter now to not lean into that for this. Like, you've kind of already introduced this with Cena, and it works. Again, I'm strictly speaking from like my side of like just watching like the tribute spots that have been like part of the Cena stuff and introducing them more and more. And I'm sure we're going to get a lot of this in the Hardys Dudleys tomorrow night. Like it's a surefire way that is going to work for a lot of audiences. It's just,
and why wouldn't you do it if you know it's going to work?
Again, I'm sharing my opinion because that's what I'm supposed to do here. This is like I'm not saying like my way is right. I'm telling you how I digested the match. I enjoyed it, but it wasn't my like match of the year by the end of this, nor feeling this was one of the greatest matches I've ever seen. Like it did not hit that with me.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying it's one of the greatest matches of all time. I'm saying I tremendously enjoyed it.
There was before and after this match for Michael Cole.
Okay, well, I mean, maybe he could call it one of the most entertaining matches of all time. I mean, would you say, okay, Rock Hogan is always the comparison point being brought up when we're talking about, you know, match quality versus atmosphere or whatever sort of like intangible.
As a match, this blows that match away. Like, there's nothing special about the Hogan Rock match outside of like the reaction to it. It's two larger than life figures that crowd was insane for. But you watch, like, if you watch this match on mute, I think you'd love this match.
Do you think Rock Hogan is one of the greatest matches? Like, according to, like, do you think that's a justifiable claim for like a WWE announcer or just really anybody?
Sure it is.
Okay. Based off of what?
Like, again, like reaction. Like, if you want to say this is one of your favorite matches, like, have at it. Like, that's totally fine with you.
But it's not what you necessarily look for.
I'm looking for more of a match than it was just like this was just all like your big moves, and I'm never going to fault like something that works. If it works, it works. That's the final answer of, you know, any question you would have regarding a match. It's just, if you're going to ask me, is this going to be a match that you're dying to go revisit? Like, it's just not. Like, it's sometimes when I watch some of these like super hardcore violent matches, like, I can appreciate that when they're really, really done well. Is that going to be my favorite match type? No, but I can appreciate when it's well done. And this was really well done. I would say this was the match of the show for sure. And
my appreciation for it, I think, again, is just purely about how entertained I was. Secondly, though, I really felt like, because this took the formula that was used in Cena's last match and really just kind of expanded upon it. And I thought, because like this paid even more reference, of course, to various members of Cena's sort of career, and because Cena's career spans such a long time, in essence, this kind of felt like a tribute to like professional wrestling, at least in the past 20 years in the WWE, and to a bit of TNA, for Styles' run as well. And for that reason, I mean, I thought this was more meaningful than a lot of wrestling matches that I watch.
Did you enjoy this than their prior sets of matches?
It was totally different. And yes, I mean, at this point in time, I guess I would say I did, because I felt like this had a bigger sort of, well, this was fitting for the last time that these two were meeting each other, So I'm sure those were fitting for that their time as well. And this match wouldn't have existed, I think, without those ones.
No, I mean, if you didn't have those matches, there's no reason to do this match. All right, let's move on to the Kabuki Warriors against Io Sky and Rhea Ripley. Ripley and Sky, they had Riho written on their faces. And not the AEW performer. RHIYO.
Gotcha. Oh, anytime two women get together in a team, you have to merge their first names together to create a tag team name. Yes.
Rio. Mm-hmm. Michael Cole reminded us of Triple Tails and the history of Asuka and Io Sky. So Asuka is taunting.
When are they going to buy the rights to that footage just so that we can get it fully out of Michael Cole's system? Anytime we see Io and Asuka together.
Yeah, English commentary by Michael Cole. I would love it. Asuka is taunting Io, and they build up to the hot tag to Rhea Ripley, who was super, super popular, as you could imagine, here in Perth. And they built up to Ripley getting the tag. She would hit a razor's edge onto Kairi, and then Io's in with a missile dropkick, arm drags Kairi off the turnbuckle, but then Asuka distracts, preventing over the moonsault. And then Ripley is sent into the steps. Io manages an Asai moonsault, and Asuka stops a Doomsday Device attempt onto Kairi, and as Rhea goes for the Riptide, Sane is blocking it, and they manage the insane elbow into the inverted DDT. Sky's in for the save, and Sane stops an avalanche Riptide attempt onto Asuka. Sane then pushes Asuka aside, taking the bullet as Rhea hits a running boot, sending Sane off the apron, and a Riptide is hit to Kairi, tags Sky, and it's Io who gets the pin with over the moonsault in 19 minutes and 56 seconds.
I really like this match as well. I think for me, like, you can, what made it incredibly strong, of course, is not just, I think, the in-ring content, but like the tremendous story that they had building into this match. And I feel like you really got to see that on their faces just throughout the match itself, primarily in somebody like Asuka, who I think has been doing some of the best career work she's ever done in the WWE. I would even say the strongest career work she's ever done in the WWE. And it's not just, again, the backstage stuff. It's how she's acting in the ring. I thought Kairi and Io too, like all of them have been doing such a great job of telling their story, not just through their backstage deals, or I could certainly criticize the acting, but like in ring, I feel like they've done actually a great job with their acting. So they also did a great job of utilizing like classic tag team wrestling devices to build to that Rhea Ripley hot tag. I thought the overall speed and quality of the match was really strong, and it just kind of made me sit back and realize how great of a job they've done in just making like these three Joshi women in particular, and how well they've done a job of making them feel like fully formed characters that aren't just here because they're great wrestlers, but because they're actually great characters as well.
Yeah, I like the match. More time than I thought it was going to get. They got, like, really outside of Stratton and Vaquer, like everything got like a lot of time on this show. Like this one clocked in at 20 minutes, and I guess afterward you wondered like where the next step is in this program of where you go. Like you did kind of save Asuka on the finish as well, so you can still go to Rhea with Asuka, Io with Asuka. I don't imagine like they're not going to continue with this whole like divided Kabuki Warriors family.
I think they could even do a rematch just of these two in a tag situation. Yeah, certainly. I mean, we also have War Games, which I don't know if they would necessarily figure into, but it's possible. Like they're certainly the hottest program in the women's division right now, so maybe they could expand that into something. But I'm looking forward to just more matches involving these four. Period.
Main event time: Seth Rollins and Cody Rhodes. Rollins is out, and he is wearing the Rolex from WrestleMania 40 over his wristband. He removes it before the match. He is also wearing polka dot trunks underneath his tights. And the match begins. We get a Seth's a wanker chant, and he's getting upset early after his pedigree is thwarted. And he blames Wade Barrett for these chants after Wade Barrett promoted them on SmackDown. So he shoves Michael Cole, and Cody gets in the action here, stopping Seth. And then Seth connects with a double stomp onto the shoulder from the barricade and starts working on the arm and shoulder. Would also move to the knee after a dragon screw and then a cartwheel with a Stardust pose in front of Cody. Cody decides to dig deep, and we get Cody going back in time to hit Din's Fire, his version of the Vertebreaker, and then a disaster kick, bionic elbow, and a Cody cutter for a 2 count.
Does it make you feel like they might have like changed something about their policies? I know like they've allowed pile drivers, a long time ago, but like, we got that what was Frankie Kazarian's move? What is it called?
Fade to Black?
Fade to Black, thank you. Yes, the Dead Eye, like a head dropping move. You got another head dropping move here in the Vertebreaker, which I think Cody has teased in the past, and I'm sure he's hit, but maybe not that often. Does it make you feel like they
see Kevin Owens hitting the package pile driver? That's going too far. Like you don't do that to another man. But when Cody can hit the Vertebreaker, that's fair game.
Yeah.
And honestly, like it was just like a move. Like he just hit it, and then he went right to like the disaster kick. Like they didn't even milk a near fall out of this thing. Mm-hmm. This was where, it's very easy for WWE terms to just become like nauseating, and I've stomached this one, but this was the match where QB1 officially hit that level for me. The amount of QB1 references, it was just enough.
That's definitely a Cody term, and not really like. Even
the others have picked it up, but yeah. It's one that they have incorporated a lot, especially for this Rollins program. Right. There's a disaster kick that is met with a kick to the gut, and Rollins hits the pedigree, and then his own crossroads for a 2 count. He hit the other guy's move, and then a top rope Cody cutter is missed, pedigree and stomp by Rollins, but again Cody kicks out. So he goes over to the timekeeper's table and he wraps the Rolex around his knuckles. And then joining QB1 is, should I do it? Should I do it? Oh, I won't do it. And he puts the watch down, and he just can't do it, Way. He's too conflicted. He was like Cody at WrestleMania.
Wrestling, I guess, has a limited palate sometimes when it comes to showing, mental
remorse.
Strife over whether or not you should be doing something heelish. Ugh. Yeah, and this is one of those.
They love this.
I do though appreciate the fact that like in this case story, I think it makes a lot of sense. The whole thing is about whether or not Rollins can do it by himself without the help of the Vision, without the help of Paul Heyman, and without the watch. And I guess the answer to that ultimately is no, he can't do it without one of those things.
So he leaves it on the apron and walks right into a Cody cutter and a crossroads, but he kicks out. And then Rollins regains the advantage. Cody is placed into a tree of woe, and Seth climbs up the opposite turnbuckle, and he goes for a coast-to-coast diving headbutt to Seth Rollins. This would be Shane McMahon and Dynamite Kid merging into a maneuver, and this is what this was.
I was not expecting a headbutt to result from that coast-to-coast dive.
Why would you even think of this as a maneuver?
So I kind of feel like the only reason why you would do that is because it's not like we've seen Rollins ever do headbutts before. But the only reason where I could suspect them choosing to do that particular spot is to lead to the arm injury for Rollins, because it's the type of landing that, you can maybe, see directly leading to landing on the arm from that sort of distance.
Well, they didn't play that up all that much, at least reacting
to this. Did. And he sold the arm for the rest of the match.
With Rollins?
Yes.
Well, I mean, he recovered enough to hit a one-man Spanish fly right after this.
Adrenaline.
Did that pop it back into
his soul? Well, I mean, he was holding his arm the whole rest of the match.
Okay. He hit the one-man Spanish fly and a rock bottom for a 2 count. And then there's a crossroads off the top for a 2 count, and Rollins sneaks to the corner, gets the watch, and then ends up knocking Cody into the referee, and Rollins nails Cody with the dreaded watch, which I swear was referred to as the death blow. The death blow via watch. And down goes Cody. He takes a stomp. That was not the death blow, not the curb stomp into the canvas, but the watch. And then another stomp off the second turnbuckle, and Seth wins in 29 minutes and 43 seconds. What time is it? It's Sethy time.
Mm-hmm. Yes, read it on the wrist. Yeah. I wondered if like there was pressure for these two in this match to like just cram more cool moves in there because of the Cena AJ match.
There were no moves left after Cena and Styles. They took up 75% of WWE history in that match. The only thing they mortgaged here was we're using pedigrees.
Yeah,
everyone gets pedigrees.
They got that. They got that. Yeah, that was. I'm sure that's something that they were probably, having to contend with. Is like, how are we going to follow the match that like basically featured our entire wrestling history, right?
And it was tough. Like I thought it was like on its own. It was a good main event. I think these two have had better matches together. Certainly, this is not going to be remembered at the level of some of the other ones, but it did not outperform Cena and Styles.
It did not. No, I feel like it at times kind of went a little bit too long. And maybe that's just whenever I say a match goes too long, I just more so mean like there wasn't enough there to maybe captivate me for those some of those minutes. And when you're at the end of a show,
it's a half hour. You better hold people's attention. Like that's a long amount of time you're asking of people, and and they had just seen this the greatest match in Michael Cole's history as well, and. Again, I there was stuff in the match. Like I really hated the whole conflicted nature thing. Again, it's like a lot of this stuff on its own, fine, but man, they love this trope and the guy that is just so conflicted. Like they've done it with Cody this year, they've done it with Sammy this year, and it's just one that I'm exhausted by at this point, especially for the Seth Rollins character. Like this guy of just such moral standing who just did the whole fake injury bit. Like that's the whole character, is that he's this underhanded manipulator that will take any potential shortcut to his ultimate vision. And here this guy is compromised by the use of a goddamn watch.
Yeah, I don't disagree. Like in the moment, I actually quite liked it because I think the entire story leading up to this has been like, I mean, Rollins has been playing it incredibly seriously. He's like contemplating, like he's holding the watch. The watch, they've done a great job of like presenting as this sort of symbolic device of just his relationship with Cody, I suppose. But like in the lead up to this, Rollins has been playing this character very sort of like understated, and it's because he's in conflict, and he's dealing with self-doubt about whether or not he could actually beat the guy who's beaten him 3 times, and whether or not he's actually truly capable of leading this company into the next whatever, however many decades that they claim.
Oh yeah, the future of the industry was won by Seth as well. We forgot to list off the stipulation.
So between that and like calling for the Vision not to help him, I thought it made sense that he would have this struggle of whether or not he'd be resorting back to his old ways, because he wanted to prove to himself that he could win by himself. But then he just wins with the watch anyway, and all is right in the world. He doesn't really suffer any sort of consequences. I don't necessarily get the sense like Breaker or Bronson or anybody else will be like saying that you did this without. Heyman said it's a meritocracy. I guess using a watch still counts towards that.
I mean, Bronson just won with the help of his buddy,
cheating is certainly allowed. It's fine. Yeah,
it's encouraged.
I appreciate the storytelling in this. I appreciate the build up to it. I like the fact that we're really taking Seth Rollins as the protagonist here, unlike the prior trilogy, which we're entirely focused on Cody for. Cody almost felt like, I mean, all his role was in this match was to play the mountain for Rollins to climb. The entire story is about Rollins. Rollins has everything at stake here. You know, he could lose the vision, he could lose whatever, like just the QB1 status. And I thought all of that was really well told, like through the Rollins arm injury, through having Cody dominate Rollins throughout the early portion of the match. At least initially, you know, showing that he's willing to win without cheating. And I thought they ultimately like gave the match like really good sort of like series of memorable moments, like Rollins threatening Barrett and Cole, the watch, the headbutt. But I kind of felt like dragged a little bit, maybe just for me, towards this late in the show. But I felt like it was a good addition to like their trilogy. You know, I felt like this match felt different enough from the three that it can sort of serve as the start of its own trilogy, which is I think what Okada and Omega were trying to do with their match. But I thought this match managed to do it better.
So you think Seth beats him 2 more times?
Perhaps, yes.
And we get best of 7 in the future.
We'll get they'll definitely wrestle each other plenty in the future.
Yeah, I mean, really taking it, I still thought this main event was probably like the second best match on the show. I don't know if you go that high, but
yeah, I think so. Just maybe
you could have trimmed some stuff, but overall, like they had a hell of a match to have to follow in Cena and Styles, and it's not just following it. It's like there was a lot of like similarities that they were going to be leaning on in this match too. That Styles and Cena just had a more effective way of conveying earlier, and like, you know, the Venn diagram of the 2 matches, there was overlap to it.
And no matter how strong a story is, you're not really going to be able to compete with the real life story of this being, you know, Cena's last time overseas wrestling. Yes, last time in front of Australia. I don't know. We don't know if he's going to wrestle on any of those other shows other than the last one. So this could be one of his, well, certainly it is one of his very last matches. Is it his last 4th match?
It's definitely his last match internationally, for sure. Yeah. And for these people, unless the one dude who was in the front row, who's the traveling fan, who like he'll get to see him again.
Yeah.
Levesque hands him the belt, and then Rollins takes the mic from Kathy Kelly, calls himself the greatest of all time, and the show ends with Rollins and Vaquer in the ring with their Crown Jewel championships, and that is how it ended. And they have Raw on Monday, and CM Punk is there in Perth. He was actually spotted in the crowd watching the Styles Cena match. No word on if he came back and watched the main event or not, but would assume that we're going to get Rollins and Punk picking things up on Raw Monday, you would assume.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
All right. Overall thoughts on Crown Jewel tonight, Way?
I enjoyed the show. I also didn't watch it live, so like I skipped through all the fluff. I skipped through like most of the entrances, and I just kind of went bell to bell. That probably affected my enjoyment.
How fast did you get through this show? Out of curiosity,
like I like about like 2.5, 2:45. You know.
Good. You shaved an hour off of unnecessary fill.
Yeah.
No, this was a marked improvement over WrestlePalooza. I think everyone would agree with that. It was a show that going in, like all 5 matches looked like, you know, very, very good to great on paper. And I think they kind of delivered there. Like maybe you could say Reed and Reigns under-delivered in terms of like being a great match, but I really, really like that finish for Bronson Reed. Like I think that booking is going to far outlive the 20 minutes that they had prior to the finish. I really like the fact that they, you know, in an era where they go so far to protect all of these guys, the offset is when you finally do it, it means something. And beating Reigns, it does mean something. And I like the fact that they had that conviction to, even like with the interference, it was a big win for Reed, and I'm sure they're going to emphasize it as a big win so it's not forgotten about in 2 months.
Agreed.
All right. Well, there you go, everybody. We have a few news items we're going to go through before we... do you want to do feedback first or the news items?
Let's do news.
Okay.
Let's do news.
So there were a bunch of releases on Friday. So the names, these had been reported by Corey Hayes at bodyslam.net. Fightful also confirming the list. We had Wesley, Lance Anawahi, Stevie Turner, Draco Knox, Jamar Hampton, Gintala, Hayes Jameson, Summer Sorrell, and BJ Ray. 9 altogether, most of them coming out of LFG over the past 2 seasons. The other ones of note, Stevie Turner had been signed back in 2021. She was on the UK brand and then brought over and had basically been in the authority figure role, both on Evolve and sort of as Ava's assistant with Robert Stone. But she was largely being utilized as a non-wrestling character for the last while. Lance Anawahi, of course, from the Famous Family, was signed like almost over a year ago and just never got into the ring. So he just had, I guess, injury setbacks, I'm assuming, and they just cut him. But I guess you would think, like, just because of the connection, if he would have been a candidate for the MFTs. But I guess when the missing piece was Tama Tonga on Friday, that was almost in concert with this news. But obviously the biggest name is Wes Lee, who was signed back in 2020, came in with Zachary Wentz as MSK, and they got a big push right out of the gate on NXT. They won the Dusty tournament, they won the tag belts, and then they regained the tag titles on the same weekend of WrestleMania 2022, when all the stuff came out about Zachary Wentz, including like the Hitler photo. And so they won the tag titles. They went ahead and did the title change, but then he was fired days later, leaving Wes Lee kind of in no man's land. They vacated the belts and actually kind of made it into a story where he was like all on his own. And, you know, he would win the North American title and had a lengthy run with that belt, and then would need back surgery, which he only missed about 6 months of from back surgery. And, you know, I would just assume that, you know, there's not going to be too many 36-year-olds in what is still basically a developmental system. And here's somebody that he had been there for 5 years. And I think you're going to have a lot of these names that are, it's either going to be ones that they just came in off LFG and we just don't see, like, send them out, and if they make something of themselves, we'll revisit. Or in the case of a Wes Lee, he's been in our system for 5 years and he's 36 years old. And do we see this guy making an impact on the main roster? Obviously they did not. But you could certainly see interest in a Wes Lee. What's interesting is that the Rascals, apparently their deals are up at the end of the year in TNA. So it does make, like, it would be a natural for him to go to TNA and reunite with them. But it remains to be seen what their futures will be as well.
Yeah, and where would they go as a trio if they did reunite? Like, what are their options?
Well, that's it. I mean, I don't know how much that there would be, like, certainly like on an independent level, but you're looking for something of more substance, I would think, if you're Wes Lee. Quite frankly, of a bunch of these names, like,
so just to finish on that, obviously the option, the best option if they do decide to reform as a trio would be the company on national TV that has a trios division and two sets of trios tag team belts. I think that it'd actually be an excellent fit for AEW. In fact, they might stand the chance to be the most marketable as a reunited Rascals, you know, as a three piece, you know, to be in AEW. But it's interesting because, like, once you're cut from the WWE, like a Wes Lee, I mean, can you go to TNA still? Like, is that even still an option for him? I mean, I have to think so.
Yeah, of course, right? Of course, it's an option. But
will they get back on NXT TV? Like, it's. Some people have, like, if you're Jakar Jackson, I guess.
I mean, that's how Zachary Wentz got back on NXT programming. Like, he left, he was fired as Nash Carter, and he's back as Zachary Wentz. Like, that's how he got back. That's how Mustafa Ali has got back.
R.I.P. Wesley. Hello,
Desmond Xavier.
That's right. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. He probably will, like, not be continuing as Wesley, which was
We should add to this. Kylie Ray.
Yeah, Kylie Ray, Zeta Steele, they were among the ID talents whose deals were not renewed. And this comes as Kylie Ray had just announced that she was, like, pregnant with her second child. So like the optics on that are pretty bad.
In the case of Zeta Steele, she says that she chose not to renew for whatever that's worth. So
yeah. Like, honestly, like, some of these other names, like from LFG, like, honestly, we'll probably never hear of some of these names again. Like, these are individuals that were recruited that had never done wrestling before WWE. And, like, my thinking as well would be, like, you don't want to have just a bloated amount of, like, roster members. And there's some that if I don't see something special in, it's like send them out to the independents and maybe they'll have that desire to attack the indies. Most probably will not. And if not, then that's that.
So I think all of this has like maybe put under the microscope the WWE ID program in general and what exactly, it's managed to produce in the time that it's existed. What has it managed to produce?
Mean, like, what do we really have? Like, who are your big, like, the biggest successes would be like a Kylie Ray was one of your champions. You have like Jack Cartwheel, who's like doing stuff on Evolve. But I mean, quite frankly, like Evolve is to me maybe even a level below Ring of Honor at this point in terms of just weekly visibility for people, even though Tubi is more accessible than Honor Club is, but it's like something where, yeah, it's happening, but I don't know, like for these ID talents, like one thing we can say is like,
I'll tell you what the ID program has done for the company. It's made them a part of this Raja Jackson news story because they're affiliated with that.
I mean, it's a great point. Like that's, cool. I mean, WWE hasn't been too like tied to that whole deal, but it certainly was probably not a wonderful day for WWE headquarters to like one of your ID recognized schools is in the midst of this national scandal of this story that it got headlines everywhere for that week or so.
Yeah, and just like with the path for what seems like an ID talent's path to the main roster, it just feels like it's so long. You have to like somehow graduate from the ID program. First of all, you have to be signed to the ID program. Then you have to go from the ID program to Evolve. Then you might hope that you might get onto NXT from that point on. Then you'll get onto the main roster. And like this whole thing might be like 5-7 years before you actually see any sort of main roster money. So like what exactly is the funnel that they've envisioned in their brain, and why not, like, does it need to be that long of a process for somebody to go?
And don't forget, like LFG is in that whole tiered system as well. Right. Like you can get sent there. And, like this guy BJ Ray, who was part of the cuts, like he's 26. He was on both seasons of LFG, and he just had surgery. He did both these seasons with a torn rotator cuff and labrum. But again, like you're getting I won't say no matches, but it's like Hayes Jameson. She's had 8 matches in her life. BJ
Is that a
Ray,
real name? Is that a real name?
No, I think that's their work name. Like BJ Ray, he's had 22 matches. It's in these are all in like your NXT
Can you
live
read
events.
These names again. These names are just too.
Summer
too funny.
Sorrell, Jintala, Draco Knox. Yeah.
Some of these might be real names, and I'm sorry if we're offending, but okay.
Let's talk a bit about so Collision tonight aired the Kota Ibushi Josh Alexander match that saw Kota Ibushi's injury, and they just aired it as is. So Alexander was like lifting him up onto the shoulders like a fireman's carry on the turnbuckle, and it's like they just lost balance, and like Josh was able to land on the edge, but Kota just got like strung forward and just came down crashing to the floor, and he's grabbing his right leg, and yeah, it appears he has a broken leg, and they just had him counted out, and which was the right thing to do. But then like Mark Davis is scheduled to make his return here. He comes out and he starts throwing punches at Kota Ibushi, who's like on the floor here,
broken femur
with a broken leg. Like if Like, I imagine this was a total disaster because they had this huge angle plotted out, because out comes Mark Davis, his return since April, and still
Callis family.
His life rights are still part of the Don Callis family. He's member number 13. And then Kenny Omega comes out. So obviously they were setting up like him saving Kota. And so Kenny's got to fight them off. Everyone's concerned about Ibushi. And then later in the show, they do a backstage segment where Kenny is alone in his room and Jack Perry comes in to basically now be the surrogate for Kota Ibushi and is going to team with Kenny Omega. Kenny will team with Jurassic Express on Wednesday's Dynamite. So this felt like this was shot to address Kota being out, because now it feels like Jack Perry is now going to be in this role. But this was a total mess, and it's just the way things were. And you fortunately had this like elaborate return and Kenny Omega angle for after this match, and you couldn't do any of it.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, you can never predict these sort of things, Really, really sucks for Kota Ibushi,
Yes.
honestly, man.
Yeah.
I think
this will take him out till 2026.
Oh, and like last we saw of him, like it felt like he was in the best shape he's been in since that shoulder injury during the
Yeah,
G1.
and this was a very good match him and Alexander were having beforehand.
So to have like this sort of setback, like how does one break a femur? You know, like it's the biggest bone in the body, and just from that, you know, it's just at this age. I don't know what that recovery process is like, but it's going to test him even further, and I have to wonder if it's. I mean, you know, any major injury like that has to be career threatening at this point. So just awful luck. But you know, it happens in live television. It happens in tape television too. And I guess there was no really better cover up for this show than to just show things exactly as they happen.
So the 3-hour Dynamite and Collision on Wednesday in Kansas City will have the Ops defending the Trios belts against LFI, Kenny Omega and Jurassic Express against Josh Alexander, Hechicero, and Mark Davis. God knows where Andrade is. Maybe we will get some follow-up to this because I don't think he was even mentioned on any of the shows this week. It was so weird. John Moxley and Darby will have a face-to-face. The Hurt Syndicate against GOA. Claudio and Roderick Strong. Chris Statlander and Tony Storm will have their last words before their title match on Saturday. And then Yuta and Daniel Garcia against Orange Cassidy and Kyle O'Reilly, and Sky Blue against Jamie Hayter. For the pay-per-view, they have added a rematch a trios rematch between the Demand and the Hurt Syndicate. The street fight was just the precursor. Now we went from the stipulation match. We're going back to the straight up trios match that we got at the last pay-per-view.
Right. Well, they're one apiece. And we'll see who actually wins this war.
They've also added to the pay-per-view Tekla against Jamie Hayter. And then on the Tailgate Brawl, which is the pre-show, it will be FTR against Jet Speed and Megan Bayne and Penelope Ford against Willow Nightingale and Harley Cameron, which is next Saturday.
Yeah. I mean, I have to think at least the women's matches announced here are set up for Blood and Guts, which is when? The next big show after this?
1 month from today.
Okay.
Yep. So they have 4 weeks to build that one up. Tonight at the UFC card in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, they brought out Jose Aldo, and he got the distinction of retiring from MMA for the second time in his career. He came out, he came out to Rihanna, not with Rihanna, but to Rihanna, and placed the gloves into the octagon and is retiring. At the age of 39, he had previously retired in 2022, but then came back last year when they had a pay-per-view in Brazil and actually won that fight and then lost fights to Mario Bautista and Ayman Zahabi earlier this year. So way back when you were following this a lot closely, and I had told you that Jose Aldo's last fight ever will be in Montreal against Ayman Zahabi. Would that have been a prediction?
And that he would lose to Ayman Zahabi.
And he would lose to Ayman Zahabi.
Yeah, that would be hard to imagine.
That's quite the trivia question for Jose Aldo. But all things aside, I mean, this is still a guy that will be remembered as one of, if not the greatest featherweight of all time. Really, his UFC record of title defenses is 7. Really, that should be 9 because you should include the WEC lineage that they absorbed, which would make it 9 title defenses from when he won the title from Mike Brown in 2008 and held it until the Conor McGregor loss in 13 seconds in 2015. But, you know, as terrible as that loss was to Conor McGregor, and it definitely stung Aldo for years, you know, McGregor would leave the division and Aldo became champion again and then would lose it to Max Holloway, who really took over featherweight at that point, beat Aldo twice. And then Aldo, who was this fighter that everyone was always concerned about this guy's weight cutting because he always had trouble with like weight cuts, but he always managed to make it. And then he announces he's going down to bantamweight, and that was thought to be insane. But he made bantamweight, and he made it every time that he fought like 8 times at 135 pounds and did fight once for the vacant title, but was never able to win a championship at 135 pounds. And he retired in 2022. They inducted him into the Hall of Fame, and then he went and did a couple of boxing fights before coming back to MMA. So, I mean, at his peak, if you were not following Jose Aldo, like here was to me, one of the best strikers at this division has ever seen. The leg kicks that this guy had in his prime. It's something he got away from later in his career. But go back and watch the Uriah Faber fight from 2010, and the day after, I still remember Uriah Faber posting a photo of his legs the next day, and it was a sight that you just could not believe that another man did this to you via leg kicks. And on top of that, Jose Aldo, he had this incredible like striking game, and then he had a BJJ black belt like in his up his sleeve as well, if ever he needed that as well. Like, oh, Way is the best in the business, folks. Unbelievable stuff here. I mean, this was like his legs were so swollen. Like they were just gigantic in comparison to their actual size. And this was the one and only WEC pay-per-view that Aldo and Faber headlined in 2010. But yeah, one of the all-time great fighters. And I guess the only question will be if there will be a third retirement announcement. It is MMA, after all.
Just never say never. 39. I mean,
he's only 39. He's just getting started.
I'm sure there's somebody in Brazil with a big bag of money that is willing to have him come back for a boxing fight at some point.
Yes.
So
all I'm going to say is I'm pretty sure I did this same career retrospective 3 years ago as well. So let's see. We can contrast. And before we get on out of here, tomorrow night is Bound for Glory, which will feature 9 matches so far with Trick and Mike Santana, presented by Conan's Final Words. The Hardys and Team 3D, one final table. And Way, I know you didn't hear my recap either on Friday, but in their final video package, Bully Ray has promised in this match, he's promised moments, and he has promised that you, the audience, will have a tear in your eye by the end of this.
Okay, interesting.
He is promising to make
words.
you cry.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if that was supposed to be a Ric Flair reference or not.
No. He literally is going to make you cry. That is Bully Ray's promise. I don't think we've ever had a wrestler promise that before a match.
What could he possibly do to make John Pollock cry?
Maybe he'll get that bear spray that Darby used on Wednesday. Or Tuesday.
That'll shoot through the screen.
Yeah. We did get the clarification by Pac on Collision that it was bear spray.
Okay, thank you. Bear spray. Yeah, I mean, obviously, nostalgia will play heavily into this particular match too, and
I think this is really going to be out of the template of John Cena and AJ Styles. I think we're in for a very similar deal here. You're going to get your Edge and Christian spots. You're going to get I don't know how many.
How many are there that you can like do? You know,
I mean, is this going to be just a ton of like old tag spots? Like that is in vogue now to just do these.
But what are the old tag spots that
you could do? Road Warrior spots. You could do
what for these guys?
I mean, this is they've presented this way as this is the last great tag team match of the era. Like that's how they're making this out to be. Like
all tag teams, whether or not they have history with the Hardys and Dudleys.
I could see that. I could certainly see that.
Okay. Well, how many tag team moves can these guys pull off? I guess is the other question.
My question is, if they do an Edge tribute spot with the spear, is it referred to as the Big Dog?
Clearly, Michael Cole, in calling that AJ Cena match, had a bit of a heads up with almost everything that was present, because I didn't think there were any mistakes on the level of the Big Dog referencing there. So yeah.
So Kalani Jordan, Indy Hartwell for the Knockouts title. The System against Order 4, 10-person intergender hardcore war. Frankie Fade to Black Kazarian defending the international title against Steve Macklin. Tessa Blanchard versus Gia Miller. Do we get any chance
the match
for
you're
Tessa?
Looking forward to the most?
We'll see. We'll see what Lowell, Massachusetts has to. It's been a few months since we've seen Tessa Blanchard in a TNA ring. Call Your Shot Gauntlet, which features Lei Ying Lee will be number 1, Mance Warner will be number 2, and just announced is a YouTuber BDE.
Congratulations to our boys. They finally made it. I mean, I don't know if they really... This NXT crossover has really kind of, done a lot for our friends at Poison Rana.
What's amazing is that years ago, Braden and Davey told us about this guy that was starting to get a following, and it was one of the reasons that they were not looking at a name change towards BDE for their stuff. They were aware of this guy at the time, so they probably made the right choice. This guy has quite the following on YouTube and Twitch.
I didn't think he was this big. Wow.
He's worked like Revolver shows and such. So it's a good move. TNA should be doing stuff like this. They should be getting experimental with.
So WWE gets iShow Speed, TNA gets BD.
Yeah, we'll see who's the influencer of the year in crossover.
All right.
We'll find out. Leon Slater against Javon Evans, which could be the match of the show for the X Division title. And then on the pre-show, the Inspiration against the Elegance brand for the Knockouts tag titles and the Hall of Fame with the Beautiful People and Mickie James being inducted. So there you go. It's a big show for TNA.
You sensing much interest, buzz, for this one? Will this be the biggest Bound for Glory ever?
I mean, I don't think it's going to... I mean, the fact is we're probably going to not get any kind of figure for this, but it's probably going to be the most bought Bound for Glory, at least since the Spike days, I would say. I don't know if it's going to be the biggest ever, but it's... I will say this, for the negativity coming out of Slammiversary when they kept the belt on Trick Williams, I think they've done a pretty great job of rebuilding this match. It's not in Santana's hometown, but they have done a pretty good job. And Santana, to me, he has not lost any momentum. If that was the fear after Slammiversary, I think he's come out of it really well, and they've done another really great job building him up here. If he does not win this one, I would say they probably lost their minds at this point. This would seem to be the time to pull the trigger until 24 hours from now. We will see.
John, you will have a review of this in the Post Wrestling Cafe with Jack Wannon.
Correct. We will be up Sunday night. This pay-per-view's on at 7. They're moving it up an hour, so we will probably be up around like 10:30 on the Post Wrestling Cafe. So tune into myself and Jack for that. All right. Final thing is forum.postwrestling.com. We have some feedback to get to, Way. I will start us off with Jeremy in Texas. This was a solid show, certainly better than WrestlePalooza, but that was also a low bar. I like how we're back to these cinematic moments with the Bloodline. Curious to see what's next and if this is the direction for War Games. Maybe Roman assembles a team without his family. Rollins winning made sense. I thought it would have been more than just the watch, possibly a new member of the group, but it didn't happen. The Cena Styles match seems to be getting a lot of praise. What are your thoughts on the structure of the matches featuring signature moves from past opponents? I'd love to know your thoughts on this, Way.
Go back about an hour on this podcast and you'll hear our thoughts. Yeah.
Cena versus Dominic is rumored for Survivor Series in San Diego. Are you intrigued by that matchup, or would you prefer more of the greatest hits?
I'm kind of curious about Cena in the War Games, honestly, just because we haven't seen that before. But I also don't dislike the Dom match. I mean, as you know, just a heat magnet type of thing. It's makes sense why you would want to do that.
I would ask this: if you're not into the Dominic match, and I'm not saying like it's probably a pairing that would be at the top of my list, but like, what is of the available opponents, like who is that person that you feel is really that they're missing the boat on not doing by using Dominic? Like, you could say Seth Rollins, but they're not going that direction for Cena on this. Like, Rollins has his own thing going on. Like, yes, they have a history. They're probably not going to get to that match. Like, like he's kind of checked off most of the opponents that you would have at this stage. And I would think if they're doing Dominic, it's because they have a reason to do Dominic.
Yeah. Do you have interest in a Roman Reigns Cena match? Like, if we're just picking out available names, like.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure like Roman's going to be heavily tied into this War Games deal. Like that's the thinking is like your biggest names are probably earmarked for bigger stuff at this point. Like, you need to find someone who's pretty much not got anything going on that can do this program for a month with Cena, or at least for this pay-per-view cycle. And, you know, again, like, you know, if it ends up being Dominic, I guess they're just looking at Dominic that he gets something out of this. You know, you'll get the heat. It's in San Diego. You know, that's the thinking to it. Is it going, like, I'm sure the atmosphere, they'll get it. Will Dominic get something out of it? Like, perhaps. Like, it's a guy you can certainly sacrifice to Cena as well.
Yeah, I don't dislike it. I mean, I think it makes sense because Dom is one of the guys who attracts the biggest reactions on the roster. But
does Cena get a run with the Mega Championship belt? Does he end up getting one more match
his career?
AAA?
Does he continue his career in AAA? He said he's retired from the WWE, not from.
Oh God.
Yeah. more of the greatest hits. Like, who are more of the greatest hits that we're talking about?
I mean, you're kind of at that point. Like tonight at the post show, you had all the fans chanting for Edge. Folks, Edge isn't coming in, so you're not getting that. You're not getting any opponents outside. So it's like you pretty much have 2 matches left, unless he does a match on TV, which I would think would be relegated to like a tag or something.
Yeah, I think it's fine. Jurassic Park fan says, "Hope you're well, guys. Rest in peace, Diane Keaton."
Yes, she passed away. I think she was 79.
Solid show. Back on track after the disappointment that was WrestlePalooza. The opener was good, but not necessarily as wild and chaotic as I expected, but entertaining nonetheless, and more drama between Reigns and the Usos. Right finish with Reed winning. Io versus Rhea versus Asuka Kairi was what it needed to be. Vaquer versus Stratton was good, but a couple notches below what both women are capable of. Styles Cena was more the wild and crazy and fun match I expected, with all the tribute spots and record number of kickouts. Very entertaining, and I'm wondering which notable rival Cena hasn't paid tribute to yet. Seth Cody was also captivating. Rollins finally defeated Cody, but with nefarious means, as it looked like the Vision was considering ousting him if he didn't win. I'm just glad there was no interference, as is typical, and the Rolex actually played a crucial role. I'd say a solid 7 out of 10 show with good storyline advancement and some highly entertaining matches. Question: if you've seen the penciled-in lineup for Survivor Series, do you have any thoughts? Have you seen it, John? I've not.
I don't have all the names in front of me, but it was like a War Games match consisting of, I guess, the Vision with Brock and Austin Theory. And I guess that was the real outlier name of Austin Theory getting paired into this. And this was couched as like, this could change, but the idea that Theory was penciled into this, either as a member of the Vision or somehow some hanger-on, and would be taking on... it would be Reigns with Punk, Jacob Fatu, and I think Reigns Jey Uso
versus Punk and Jacob Fatu.
Reigns with Punk, Jacob Fatu, Jey Uso, and then somebody else as well. I think like there was a 5th name up in the air. So that was. Okay. I think David reported like he had seen, I guess, like what's listed on the board or something like this, and this is what that had been.
Okay. I don't really care to give any thoughts for it, because it probably will change. It's also hard to judge without knowing what the creative is to lead to those particular matches. I mean, can't really say anything about it right now.
All right, let's go to I'm going to go to Mike here. Cena and AJ was the match of the night and a candidate for match of the year. So many callbacks to different wrestlers and moves. Hearing the ring announcer go over all of AJ Styles' laurels from New Japan to TNA was surprising, but I'm glad they did it. Not like WWE has not mentioned New Japan before. Too bad we can't have another match between these two. I'm glad AJ what would another match between these two look like? Like, what would you follow up this match with? Like, this was like the ultimate crescendo of a feud between two men.
A boneyard match involving these two.
Yeah, that was
a Firefly Funhouse match with AJ Styles.
All potential follow-ups. I mean, with Cena, would Cena be violating his retirement by doing a Firefly Funhouse?
I don't think so. Yeah, these two were the stars of the pandemic WrestleMania, were they not? In their cinematic matches. Yeah.
He goes on to say that Bronson beating Roman, even though it wasn't a clean win, was the right call for him. It's his home country. It doesn't hurt Roman at all to have Bronson get a win. Surprisingly, I liked Stephanie and Tiffany. Tiffany can be excellent in the ring with the right opponent. The match didn't go too long. They did all their spots, and the right person won. Kabuki Warriors against Rhea and Io. Was missing the mist from Asuka. I was surprised they didn't use that spot since they've been using it for weeks. And Cody, Seth, these two have a long history. This was a good one-on-one battle. They both got their spots and both had their kickouts. Entertaining match. So let's move Seth on to somebody else. I think this was designed to be kind of a 3-week buildup of your champions. I don't expect much to follow. And they've set up like Punk. You basically have Punk, Jay, and LA Knight all vying for this next title shot with Seth Rollins.
Got a Muggin who says, a far better show than WrestlePalooza. Cena Styles was a love letter to both men's careers and a masterclass of nostalgia. Cody, Seth played on their history, and Seth looked extra motivated. The coast-to-coast headbutt was insane. The women's stuff also delivered. Overall, Crown Jewel was worth waking up early for.
All right, and Jesse here says that the highlight of WWE Perth TakeOver so far is Shinsuke Nakamura's return on SmackDown in time for a very interesting Ryogoku season for New Japan and also WWE, even after what happened in Noah, because Shinsuke knows Tanahashi is watching him as a possible final opponent for Wrestle Kingdom 20. Okay. I guess Tanahashi was watching on Netflix.
Yes, internationally.
Yes. Yeah, that's another show that's coming up. Monday morning is King of Pro Wrestling. You could actually, if you wanted to, watch King of Pro Wrestling live, and it basically goes right into Raw on Monday morning. What a weird schedule we have.
I do not want to do that.
No, I don't think most do. But if you want to start at 3 a.m, that could be your Monday morning start to your week. All right. Wei, did you have a good weekend?
I had a very good weekend. Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, I had my brother-in-law's wedding last night. It was a great time, and today just spent a lot of time with the kids. So very good. How about yourself?
I had a great weekend. I had a good Thanksgiving. Ate a bunch of food.
You watched a lot of baseball last night, didn't you?
So I stayed up. This game, I stayed up. I tapped out in the 14th inning, and this game ended in the 15th inning. And the Mariners beat the Tigers. It was a great game. It was a really great game. Yeah. So, yes, the Mariners won, and I wasn't even I didn't even check tonight's game with the Cubs and Brewers, but we got the Brewers eliminated the Cubs. I know there's probably a lot of Cubs fans out there. They're the eternal underdog, but Milwaukee still a very small market team. I do like when Milwaukee ekes it out. So there you go.
Yeah,
we have our NLCS and ALCS all set.
So tomorrow, Jays, Mariners.
Yeah, are you going to be watching the Jays and Mariners or Bound for Glory? I am kind of disappointed. This TNA pay-per-view is on this Sunday night as the Jays are in this. I may have 2 screens going at the same time.
But Monday
is clear. I mean, that is the silver lining, is that Monday night is free and clear with Raw in Australia. So I am very happy about that. Can we plan right here on the fly Monday's Rewind to Raw? Would 1 p.m. Eastern, that's
doable. Yeah.
Is that a doable time for you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Let's aim. We're going to go live on the cafe 1 p.m. Eastern time on Monday for Rewind to Raw. The show starts at 8 a.m. in the morning, so we'll be on several hours after Raw concludes. But thank you to everybody for joining us live. If you are so kind, hit subscribe here on the YouTube channel. And if you are so bold, you can go XL at postwrestlingcafe.com. You will get Rewind to Raw, Rewind to Dynamite, and Rewind to SmackDown in their full intended form of how you are to digest it. News of the day, show recap, feedback, questions, all of it in that wonderful XL version. And we have a ton going on the cafe this month. We just put out our review of The Smashing Machine.
Yeah. The actual movie, which you can compare and contrast to our thoughts on the documentary. Obviously, as 2 people who have watched and actually reviewed this documentary, I think a couple times by this point, I feel like we bring a bit of a unique perspective to it, knowing a bit more about the subject matter. So listen to our thoughts about what we thought were the highs and lows of Dwayne Johnson's adaptation.
Yes, we have a lot of great stuff. But in particular of late, I really enjoyed our Smashing Machine review and our Nobody Speak chat with Neil Flanagan on the 2017 documentary. I really enjoyed doing some of these film reviews with Wei Ting. So you can check those out. And then again, Bound for Glory is coming up on Sunday night with myself and Jack Wannon. And then Karen Peterson at WH Park will have a King of Pro Wrestling review coming out for Cafe members on Monday. So lots to look forward to. That is it for us. And that is all for our review of Crown Jewel Perth.